Welcome to Mayhem to Mastery, leading transformation from the middle, with your hosts, James Thompson and Ronii Bartles. In each episode, we will interview change agents, operators, and advisors who have learned to drive results without relying on formal authority. From process optimization to strategic communication, and yes, even competitive compliance. We break down what it takes to lead well when you're in the middle of it all. Mayhem to Mastery, Leading Transformation from the Middle, is a podcast for leaders navigating the messy, high-stakes space between top-down strategy and frontline execution. You can find this show on all the major platforms, including YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and on our website, concentricglobal.co. Now here's the hosts of Mayhem to Mastery, Leading Transformation from the Middle, James Thompson and Ronii Bartles.
Hello, and welcome to Mayhem to Mastery, Leading Transformation from the Middle. I'm your host, Ronii Bartles, and with me is my co-host, James Thompson. And today we have Bill Dickerson with us. Bill is a senior director at EssilorLuxottica. Hello, Bill.
Hi, guys. How are you?
Good. Thank you for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah. James, do you want to talk a little bit about how we know Bill?
Yeah, Bill and I think, are two brothers from another mother. At least we share the same pain in a similar profession. So Bill and I met through Lydia, who works for Bill. Bill is of EssilorLuxottica, and we'll kind of get into his background in a second. But we met through Lydia, who was one of our students, actually. And but she made the introduction. Bill and I had a conversation technically, and I think it ended up more so as a therapy session more than anything. You and I both going, oh, man, I feel you there. And so, and this is interesting. I actually just published a LinkedIn blog or article last night, and I'm going to put it on our blog about how strange it is that a lot of the OpEx and operations folks tend to be drummers too. So Bill and I are both musicians, so we hit it off with respect to music as well. So that's how we know each other.
Yeah, Bill, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do and what you're working on. And
so it's good to, it is, James, thank you for mentioning those things. It definitely resonates with me, and I feel exactly the same way. It's kind of funny. Musicians identify each other, kind of like, fish in the sea identify each other, swim around. They meet someone they know, and boom, it's like you're the same. I've been with EssilorLuxottica for 23 years now. Been in the optical industry for about 32, 33 years. I've done a lot of things with EssilorLuxottica over those years, but today I'm responsible for implementation and, let's say, managing, overseeing the ISO 13485 quality management system that we started putting in place in our various facilities about 5 years ago. We've always had the directive and requirement to be compliant, obviously, and we're throughout the world. So we have several, regulatory bodies that oversee what we make, and I'm sure we'll get into that. But in the U.S., the FDA is the governing authority for regulating medical devices. And of course, I've had a lot of experience dealing with, putting in systems that comply with their requirements. So
and Bill, for
that's
those
what I'm
that
doing
don't,
today. And
Bill, for those that don't know, EssilorLuxottica, who is EssilorLuxottica?
That's a good question.
Do they produce? So maybe, because most folks may not know the name, but I guarantee you they probably have one or more products within reach.
Yeah, so EssilorLuxottica is a combination of two companies. The combination started taking place in 2018. Before that, Essilor was a separate company from Luxottica. Luxottica is and has been more of the fashion-oriented, retail-oriented part of the spectacle lens industry. And Essilor has always been the let's say the lens manufacturing, the technology behind the fashion. So all of the lenses that are made, for prescription lenses, sunwear, and things like that, Essilor has always made, and Luxottica has always made the frames and the fashion, the brands, and those kinds of products. It's their orientation to the industry. When we combined in 2018, it was like blending the technical side, that is the manufacturing operation side of the business, together with the market. So we got the Essilor side got closer to the customer, and the Luxottica side got closer to the operations, and now it's a complete blend.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say since 2021, we're on the permanent path that was set in place, prior to the combination between those two companies. So we make products like on the lens side, we make all of the transition lenses. You've probably worn those, or somebody who does. We make the Verilux products, which are the full backside progressive lenses. We make the lenses for Meta, and we make the frame for Meta, because now as a combined company, we own the brand for Ray-Ban and for Oakley. So we own those facilities, the manufacturing and the technology behind them. So the Nuance product that you've probably seen advertised a lot recently, along with the Meta product that we make. I mean, it's taken us to great, advances within our industry. So those products, but the names Essilor, which is a French company, and Luxottica, which is an Italian company, you've really probably never thought about those two, corporate names.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we're the largest lens manufacturer in the world. We're the largest frame manufacturer in the world, therefore the largest spectacle and sunwear manufacturer in the world.
I was going to say,
very blessed to be a part of that combination of companies.
I have my contacts in, which probably you guys made.
Yep, me too.
Maybe.
Probably so.
We do manufacture some and distribute quite a lot.
Well, and I've got a pair of glasses sitting right here. Yeah, I've got a pair of glasses on my desk, and I've got
Thank
Contacts
you,
Direct. I got Contacts Direct, and that's where I got my lenses.
Thank you, Ronnie, for paying for my car and such.
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
Thank you very much. That's very
I just got to get some of those Meta Ray-Bans. Those things are sweet.
Go to Lens Crafters.
There you go. Nice plug.
For Lens Crafters.
All right,
we
there
own
you
those. Lens Crafters, Sunglass Hut, those boutique retail type locations, we own those as well. So that's part of the family as well. When I joined the company Essilor, I joined that side. In 2002, I think we had about $2 billion worldwide in revenue. Today, who knows, it could get closer to 30.
Wow.
As a combined company. Yeah. We had 16 to 18,000 employees worldwide at that point. Today, we have more than 180,000 combined. So we've grown a lot by way of the combination of the two big companies, but we've also grown organically. We've also grown by merger and acquisition too, with some of the locations that we call labs, which are basically, small manufacturing facilities. If you think of them that way, they're really not laboratories in the classical sense, but they're, small manufacturing facilities. And we have a lot of those, and we've built a lot of those over the years. And I've been really fortunate to be a part of that progress and a part of the growth. So it's a good thing to stick with one place for a while.
Hearing a lot of those numbers too. And hearing a lot of those numbers, it just makes me think about kind of going back to the title of our podcast, Mayhem to Mastery. Like that sounds like chaos to me.
Yeah.
When you get that many
There's
people.
There's a lot of chaos, but it's, it's the nature of the beast.
Yeah.
If your strategy is to grow and to innovate. So growth and innovation, they don't always go hand in hand. And when they do, adding those resources, adding those technical capacities and things like that at a great rate, well, it brings with it, a natural, form of chaos.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
But that
that's the nature of
also,
the beast.
yeah, I mean, but also too, like that's what quality systems are there for, you know?
Thank you.
Yeah.
You can come and work with us, which, I would appreciate very much.
Well, I mean, I know that
So,
when James and I deal with a lot of our clients, it's kind of like the quality management system or the quality department almost like sits outside on its own as a department when it would be in the company's best interest that its quality should be a culture, not a department.
yeah.
And I know that, Bill, yeah, you feel the same way in that regard because we've had so many conversations about this and looking at quality from top down.
Yeah. So, ISO 13485, and by the way, I think 9000, 9001, all of the ISO standards, I believe, are written in 3 different languages. They have to be submitted and formalized in 3 different languages, English being one, Russian is one of the others, and French. So when the standards are formalized, those 3 languages are used. That's a difficult thing because you're right, Ronnie, in that a culture of quality, a successful culture of quality, is infused as a part of the DNA, but it does start with leadership, top management. But it would do us well to really understand that from the French sense, and the formalization of ISO 13485, for example, coming out of 9001, to understand what the French words translate to. Unfortunately, we think that we need a system in order to have good quality in our products, when in reality, we need a system of management to arrive to the claims that we make, about our products to the market and compliance to regulatory requirements. We need a system of management for quality, to result in the quality that we're proposing to make and sell to the consumers on the marketplace. So it's really a management system for quality, but it's a management system for the organization.
Yeah, we call it a business management system.
Yeah. When we started launching ISO in mass production, so we have several, now in North America, but a lot in other places, mass production, basically that is a huge manufacturing footprint, industrial footprint that makes the semi-finished form of the lenses. So the way the lens starts out is semi-finished. In other words, the front curve is established, but the back curve has to be processed in order for the prescription that you have to be put into the lens from the back side. So we remove a lot of material. We do the processing that takes that material off to arrive at a finished lens that can be mounted in a frame and dispensed as a spectacle device. So those mass production facilities, we started in North America the year that I came. And I think that's one of the reasons that I was hired. Plus, I speak French. And so we started the implementation on the mass production side of ISO 9001. Of course, we didn't have 13485 at the time. The man that I worked with at the time, he's retired and he's no longer with the organization. He's living a good life, I think, was wise enough to see exactly what you just said. Once he understood that the approach of the management system could be applied everywhere throughout the organization, we didn't call it a business management system. We called it a business operating system. So we have a new boss, essentially, a new boss. And business operating system, we never referred to it as a quality management system.
Good.
We never did. So, and again, I think we misunderstand a lot. Not we, of course, we
Yeah.
work in it every day. So, but a lot of us in the world, we misunderstand what is the reason for having those requirements in place and making sure that we meet them. It's not just so that we meet a quality specification, it's to ensure that we have the processes that meet those specifications when we result in the end product. But in reality, it's a system to keep us cowboys in the right saddle.
Mhm.
I've been in top management. I have been in that place. I have managed business development. So I know what it means to tell an entrepreneur type personality, hey, you can't be a cowboy or a cowgirl anymore. You can't be, this isn't the wild, wild west. There are certain things that we have to document the fact that we've considered. Cowboys don't like that. No.
Mm-mm.
Entrepreneurs say, hey, I don't have time for that. I've got to move on.
Mhm.
We're gonna lose opportunities. So that's not my organization today. That would be someone I would have worked with, indirectly some years ago. And of course, our entire organization has evolved over the last 20 plus years, and even in the last 4 years. So the notion that I have to manage my business in compliance with regulatory requirements is not an easy notion to teach, and it's not taught in business schools or marketing schools.
No, I come from a marketing background.
It's not learned that way.
I come from a marketing background, and I didn't know anything about any management system or ISO standards until I've met Jim. And now I know more about it than I ever thought I would.
Lucky
Sorry.
you.
Yeah.
I say lucky you. You met the guru.
That's true. Yeah. Right. At least I got the best of the best of the teachers. So.
Yeah.
Oh,
Jim's a great teacher.
Yeah, until you ask my MBA students and some of these folks, I had an appraisal, and I think we were in week 3 or 4 of a 16-week course in business analytics this spring, and the feedback was like, what is all of this stuff? Why are we talking about it? This has nothing to do with business. And it was just simply looking at what's a system versus a process. And you don't go into the doctor's office and they only check how you look. You got to get down into the guts.
Thank
God. And individual indicators. And man, these guys just didn't. They're like, just
give me
lecture
my grade,
and then let us go and do a quiz and then write a little story. But that's not how it works. That's not how it works. So,
no. And we get introduced into that. I mean, I remember when the hiring manager during the interview 23 years ago, I can remember it like it was yesterday, but one of the things that he made sure to ask me, the entire interview was in French. So, I mean, there were some things we had to talk about in English, like money, for example, and so, but he asked me, he said, have you been successful with regard to implementing ISO? Of course, he didn't know what else to ask, or how otherwise to ask that kind of question. But I understood what he meant. And actually, what he asked me was I instrumental? In other words, have I been instrumental in the past implementing, ISO? And of course, back then, I think I remember saying, well, yes, I think, everybody is instrumental in a successful implementation of a management system for the business that results in quality in every aspect of the business world. And he reflected for a minute, and he said, when can you start? And the person that had just interviewed before me, I met her on the way out the door. So, so they were looking for that change agent. So that's part of your ethos, who are the change agents. Everyone has the capacity to be. But I think they were specifically looking for that.
Mm-hmm.
People who could, actually, face the fire and understand it and help to, animate a process that was just embracing compliance.
Yeah.
And
So,
Bill, one of the things that stands out to me about you is being in that role for so many years now, and the fact that you still have that fire in your belly, you still
Mhm.
are passionate about, running into that fire and being a change agent. So
Yeah.
two things, how do you keep up the energy in the face of constant, dread? These folks are running from you as you're chasing them, trying to,
I don't know about
implement this change. And probably the second question would be, and this is either inside EssilorLuxottica, or if you don't want to get into too many details, maybe just kind of a
That's not a
general
problem.
statement. How do you get younger folks or folks that really aren't on a path to this sort of thing, management system consulting, improvement, OpEx? How do you get them excited and interested in this movement, I guess?
Well, to your first question, I am no longer a spring chicken, as we like to say in South Carolina and Texas. Um, so you're right. I would say, I would say one of the reasons is nobody runs from me. If I have to chase people down, then I might, I might have some issues. So might they.
Mhm.
But I think, for me, I have been fortunate in let's say, in the real fact that EssilorLuxottica has always cared. They all- you know and I mean, I've known the top management of the organization for which changes. It's ever revolving, ever changing. So, but I have known them personally, closely, for almost all of my career with the company until the combination, because, combining two massive companies we may talk about the interesting aspects of that later. But, I've always been close to the technocratic side of our business, and our company's top management and leadership now and then and in between have always cared. They've always cared about the customer. And I'm not speaking about customer in the aspect of, like, selling of guitars. They care too, believe me. We can talk about that a lot. But
Mhm.
in terms of really wanting, having the drive and the desire, the personal ethos to help people see better. So they've always cared, literally cared about that. So anything that would prevent that, let's say, objective
Mhm.
from always being a constant driving factor has been totally, will be totally rejected. That interferes with the main reason for why the company exists in the first place. So, being a part of that culture means that, yes, there are still fires, right? But they're not as hot as they would be if we're talking about a company that doesn't recognize and embrace its internal core reason for being, for existing.
Yep.
All of our leadership do. All of them, all of us, you know. And as I told you in the email, I think, we talk about leadership, but I'm not talking just about the executive level, but that is where it starts, Ronnie, back to your point. So,
Mhm.
to your first question, I can still face the fire. It's hot, and
Mhm.
because of the nature of a revolving executive management, uh, structure, which is normal, by the way. That's another thing, Jim. We have to recognize that when we do what we do, there are certain things that are the natures of the beast at the DNA level, and there is nothing we can do. Fighting that kind of current is not healthy.
True.
That is not going to change in a large organization with a multi-billion-dollar revenue, and even 10 times more than that as a market cap, publicly
Hmm.
traded company. We have to stick to our core values, and we have to realize that there are certain natures of the beast in any corporation, in any business, and that we shouldn't seek to make that stop.
Hmm.
We should seek to improve how that works.
Agreed.
Otherwise, you catch the wrong wave going in the wrong direction, you're swept out to sea. That's it. That's
Hmm.
over. So
That's right.
I would say that would be my primary response. Now, what's my personal drive? Well, it's quite the same. I mean, why would I want to do anything different as a job, functionally? Why would I want to do anything different now? I mean, I've done a lot. I've done just about everything that we can do in our industry, just about everything. So, and I've lived all over the world. So, I mean, I don't have that. That's not where I am anymore. So, I mean, been there, done that, enjoyed it, loved it, would do it all over again without changing a single thing. But
Hmm.
why would I want to be anywhere different than I am today? Why? I mean, my
Hmm.
opportunity is this: I get to get back. I
Hmm.
get back. So to the young people, your part of your question was about how about the younger generation? To be honest with you, I think if I have to make any evangelical conversions, okay, it's not with the younger people. It's not. It's not
Okay.
with the younger professionals. And listen, so everybody's a professional in our organization, from the very first person that puts the resin in the injection molding machine to make the semi-finished lenses to the top of the organization. Everyone at least has the capacity to be professional in what they do. But the quality management system, or ISO, or business operating system, makes that possible. There are elements of that make that, realizable. It's always possible, but realizing it is another thing. So if I have to be evangelical converter, it's not with the younger generation. No. And believe you me, I've been in the organization and in the industry long enough to appreciate now where we are with regard to younger talent coming into the industry and in the business. Giving back means you hope to see that the next generation, and now as old as I am, the next one after that, are also enjoying, what they do in this industry. And I have an opportunity to help them see what there is to enjoy, and to benefit from, to profit from, to grow from. you know so it's not the young people's, their eyes are wide open.
Hmm.
It's people like me, Jim.
Okay.
It's people like me who, again, have been riding the range and have been cowboys and cowgirls for decades. And, but I will be honest with you, because of the DNA or the nature of the DNA in our industry, if and we have a great recruiting platform, and a
Hmm.
great talent search and acquisition approach. Our HR people really understand that even though we might, and we do often, have to bring someone in from a different, world, from optical, because the optical world is a very small world relative to some others. But their approach and the way the recruiting takes place is a check for let's say, an evaluation of talent, evaluation of academic requirements, evaluation of capacity and capability, but also infused in the postings that we put out, and the, let's say, interviews that are taken. we talk about the company's core values
Mhm.
and watch for the reaction on the faces of those that we might be bringing in from the food industry, electronics industry. They have the technical capacity to do what's needed to be done, or the administrative or the managerial capacity. And our HR team does a really good job of, recruiting with our values in front of the, let's say, the person that might be interviewing for a job. So again, I think for me, the main challenge has been to embrace the fact that the executive level, the top executive levels. Now, in our company, we have one person that is top management, which is, I mean, it's a blessing to me. I might not like the way they make choices sometimes, but hey, that's their call.
Sure.
And my job is to help, right? Help
Mhm.
inform. So we're not as, let's say, multi-layered as we used to be. So the structure is simpler,
Mhm.
believe it or not.
Mhm.
Um,
Well, that's
but you
good
don't know
news.
everyone. So you
Yeah.
have to take time to get to know a lot of people, different
Hmm.
people.
Hmm.
And I would say below that top management level, it's not abnormal to see, that level of executive management across operations revolve, change. New people come in, the predecessor goes on to manage another aspect of the business, or another important project, or product development, or business growth and development, and that kind of thing. So I think that's the challenge. And of course, we all
Hmm.
come into that position with great new ideas. Here's what we're going to do now.
Mhm.
Well,
Hmm.
maybe. My job is not to say no. Not to say no. No, we can't do that because, no, my job is to say, yes, we can do that if. Not no
Yep.
because, but yes, if.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so,
That's good.
but that's something you learn over time, right? I mean, that's
Hmm.
not something that came out of the gate working with no.
Yeah.
I learned, early that, no matter how, and again, earlier in my career, I would chase you, and you would be sorry that you ran.
Hmm.
Today it's not so much the case. No, no.
So something that you and our past guest Larry White have in common is you both have talked about accumulating, your scars and lessons learned, and the
Hmm.
value of passing that along. So,
Mhm.
um, episode 4 is our last episode with Larry White. If you're interested in kind of seeing the parallels
Yeah.
between Bill's comments here and what Larry did, that's a good opportunity. And then Ronnie, you're going to kind of close us out with a couple of questions, or maybe a question. Now we're running low on time,
Yeah.
but what do you have to close
No,
close us out?
I was just going to say, we kind of always like to wrap up with kind of what was our key takeaway from this conversation. And I think Jim kind of said it well, very similar to Larry's philosophy on leadership, empathy, working with new talent, which is, I'm starting to see that in all of these interviews as a nice common theme amongst leadership, which is very refreshing. But I think my top takeaway is just looking at systems and processes and thinking of them in a whole organization and not just as a separate department.
Hmm.
Doesn't stand alone, like it's part of the culture. So I mean, I think that's my key takeaway. James, do you have any?
I would say my key takeaway is keep moving forward. And I'll say that applies to us technically here. We've had glitches, and Bill's a little fuzzy, and my internet didn't work this morning, and I had to get a second laptop. And, ultimately it's perseverance and keep
Hey,
moving forward, and, strive for perfection, but hey, settle on good enough, just keep moving forward.
Yeah.
yeah,
Bill, what about you?
good.
You
I'm
have
glad
any?
those are your.
Yeah. Do you have any last thoughts?
I Yeah, I do. I mean, I would say that. I mean, again, I've written this to you in an email, but it was just spontaneous. you know, in a large organization, particularly in a multi-international company, embracing a culture that you have no experience with is scary. Let's admit that. It is. But doing it over and over again, I think is a conditioning. It wouldn't be an intentional conditioning, but it's the circumstance, you know. And that circumstance is a conditioning for what leadership really is, you know. Leadership, and I don't want to, you know, just cliche everything to death, but you know, leadership is not a title. It's not a job title. A job title indicates responsibility. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it might mean this is my level of responsibility for a department or a function. To some, unfortunately, it might be, and I say unfortunately, to some, it might be an indicator of what they're worth. And that's sad. That's sad. So that's not it to me. And it's not that's not the truth for any successful organization. And executive management are responsible for approving things like, what do we say? How do we express our core values? How do we see them in each other? How can we find them? That kind of thing. That's leadership. Leadership is a behavior. It's the way we behave, how we conduct ourselves, how we, as you said, Ronnie, how we empathize. How can we put ourselves in that person's shoes and work with them, you know, and help each other, you know, find a way for them to help me too. Because when they realize that they have that kind of skin in the game, we become a collaboration, a team. You know, so leadership is a behavior. It's not a job title. And as I've said before, you know, lots of mistaken but easily adjusted executive management often think that, well, you know, QMS is just a job of copy and pasting procedures, policies, and documents. And let's get a database. We need a software to contain all those documents so that when we think we need them, we can pull them up and, you know, be okay, just like that. That's a QMS and we're all done.
Yeah.
Let's move on. What company are we going to buy tomorrow? No. No. And even if it were true, and let's say 70% of that is true today. I mean, we live in 2025, nearly 2026 now. So it's not odd to think that, look, I can just adapt to what already exists, copy paste it, and change the essential parts. 70% of that might be true, but you're leaving the people out of the organization, out of the equation. You know, they also have to, you know, embrace and understand and know and contribute, you know, to the positive compliance aspects of the company towards the industry and regulatory authority. No, leadership can be learned. Any behavior can be taught. Any behavior. It can be taught. Now, the question is whether the student is learning or not and capable of learning. But it can be learned. And therefore, it's the only thing in the organization, industry in general, and in compliance that is not copy pastable. It has to develop. And you can't copy and paste that kind of leadership.
No.
That's the kind of leadership that's experienced and learned.
Yeah.
And never forgotten.
And,
Especially the hot moments.
That's I think the core of these podcasts, and hopefully those that have been repeat listeners start to see this trend is, what is it that we can do from the middle of the organization when we don't have that job title, when we don't have, you know, that place on the org chart yet? What can we do today or within the next month or even in my work plan for the year to really start practicing, first learning as much as we can about leadership, but then, you know, practicing it. So,
well, I would suggest people hang out with you more, Jim. And
well, and you too, Bill.
I
too.
highly suggest that. Why? Because, you know, not only do, you know, your company Concentric, I mean, you help people build, you know, you help professional people build their professional capacity. by certification, by training, and that kind of thing. But I've experienced your teaching. So I at least from my perspective, your one of your objectives must be to have people understand better the personal involvement and the personal approach, and let's say how to shape that into something that is absent-minded of a title, absent of, from the mind, with regard to, who should I respect more and can I respect less? That is a horrible combination. Thank God you teach that, whether you know it or not. And it's sometimes the best teaching that you give when you don't know, when you're not conscious that you're actually teaching that. So
Nice.
Don't think about it too much, because I don't want you to try.
So Bill, as we're wrapping up here, if anybody wanted to get a hold of you, like how can they find you? Where can they find you?
Well, they can find me at EssilorLuxottica. I mean,
Yep.
always. So you have my email address. I'm
Yep.
sure you can put my email address, my cell phone number, which you have, on whatever it is that you put on the podcast.
Yeah.
And instead of saying what it is, because I won't say it well enough for people to actually write it
Yeah.
down. If you have my contact information, then you're very much please post what you have.
Yep.
I'd be happy to, to talk to anyone who, like Jim said earlier, wants to commiserate or, share each other's souls and that kind of thing. Or technically speaking, if there's anything that I can do to help any one of your listeners or your collaborators, or the people that you work with, don't hesitate to reach out to me, because I love doing it. I don't need a title.
Thanks, Bill. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you for that offer.
Yes. Thank you.
You bet.
Thank you so much for being with us today. This has been a great conversation.
It always is.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
No, thank you.
I appreciate it very much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bill. Happy New Year. Happy holidays.
All the best, man. I hope you get a lot of good computers for gifts this year.
Yes, sir. and those Meta Ray-Bans.
You can get those. Lens crafters.
Lens crafters.
Thank you guys so much.
Thanks, Bill.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank
All
you.
right, cheers. Thank you.
You've been tuning into Mayhem to Mastery, leading transformation from the middle, with your hosts, James Thompson and Ronii Bartles. You can find this show on all the major platforms, including YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and on our website, concentricglobal.co. Thank you for joining us.